Jumpy. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In this episode, we're going to get the Forester running again. Let's do it. Alright guys, we have the gasket for the turbo, so we can pretty much get this car running. All I really need to do is this intercooler piping to the GT35 and the heater hose that's down there, which I can just put a joint in for now. Other than that, we can get this running this episode. I've got the oil, got mineral oil. It's been called for the stage 2 cams, so I'm going to be running that in the turbo engine now instead of synthetic. Alright guys, so we're going to put the GT35 onto the adapter and we're going to have the wastegate on there, and then that will go into the engine bay. It's going to be a lot easier to get those 3 bolts on that standard Subaru 3-bolt flange than to try to get these 4 bolted up onto here while it's in the car. This one is very hard to get to. You may need to clock the turbo just a little bit for the intercooler pipe. I'll probably change out this one, which is fairly easy to do at the moment. Like I said, previous episodes, intercooler piping will get all changed when I get a new welder that can do cooler pipes, aluminium. So guys, if you can't tell, this tile is not a real one, so it doesn't seal the best. So we're going to have to put a little bit of sealant on there and get it on there. So we'll do that first. We'll get that on. We'll clamp that on. Not 100% tight. I'm not sure on the orientation of it just yet. But we'll get that on, then we'll get the turbo on. Alright guys, if you haven't seen previous video on this up pipe, actually custom made that up pipe and I welded studs on, and when I welded studs on I warped the flange, and that's why I've got sealant on it. Eventually we'll go to an aftermarket up pipe and headers for more power, but for now that'll do. Let's get the rotator set up on and get this clocked and tightened down properly before it dries. It is going to be a lot easier than if I did it the other way. A hell of a lot easier. Wow. It's actually room to move around in this setup. I love it. Been working in such confined spaces, it's actually quite a relief. I'm actually looking forward to actually enjoying this car. Make it simple. What's that saying? Keep it simple, stupid. Alright, GT35 is mounted. Wastegate dump is mounted. Wastegate's still loose, which I'm going to tighten up once I get the dump up on. So that's what we're doing now. Right boys and girls, all of the turbo is hooked up now. I just found a joiner for this radiator, not radiator, this heater hose. Got the other piece of the heater hose, so I'll join them for now, get that on. So that will be all of the coolant system done, all of the oil system done, except it doesn't have oil. Actually, we don't have an oil cooler, but that's for another time. So we'll start on getting the intercooler pipes back together and making this one up here. Alright, we got this intercooler pipe on. We have intake air temp connected. Did end up spinning this clamp around so I don't scratch my arm off every time I reach over this way. It looks a lot neater. I'm going to work on this section now. Alright guys, so if you didn't know, I bought a universal intercooler piping kit ages ago, and you know, I used this bit, went through the guard. See here, you got straights, you got 180s, yeah. So I've used some of that. Like I said before, when I get my new welder, this will be done properly to allow for another cooler here as well. But I think the engine bay is the neatest it's ever been with intercooler piping. Let's have a look. That's it. A 45 bend from the universal cooler pipe. Oh, mount that down there in the guard. This is a bit that's chopped out from a WRX kit that I've had for ages, and that goes down and under. Yeah, that's it. There and there in the engine bay. There's no pipes going around everywhere through here and across there. Now we just need to work out if we're going to do an intake or not. It's starting to look good, finally. Alright, time to take some things off the list. So heater hoses, put a joint in it for now. We'll get genuine ones so they can come off. I do need to polish these up. Wastegate's done. Dump pipe's done. Intercooler piping's done. Haven't got power steering fluid in it yet. Intake, not sure just yet. What do we got over here? Fill with oil, no. Speed sensor. That's something I don't need to do to start it. That I need to. That I don't need to. That I don't really need to. That I don't need to. That I don't need to. So we are pretty close to starting it. Put the oil there. Unfortunately I'm going away this weekend. Well, it's great that I'm going away, but I won't be able to work on the car. It is a long weekend. You guys will see this episode after the long weekend, so I'll be back and this will be running and it'll be mint, hopefully. Alright guys, it's the next night. We got quite a bit done last night. We are going to put water in and see if we've got any leaks. While that's doing its thing, I'll sort out the boost references and everything for the wastegate. So we're going to have to change around those nipples there because they're not facing in the right direction. These two. And if there's no leaks with the coolant or the water, we will move on to oil. Alright, so 2 litres have gone in so far. Alright, so this is how I'm setting it up. Obviously external gate. So from the compressor, you go into a T-piece, go to the bottom of the wastegate. With that T-piece, we'll go to port 1, which is this one here, the front one. So there's plenty there. Alright, I nearly stuffed up there looking at the port numbers. So number 1 is the one that goes to the T, not this front one, which is 3. I can't remember what I was doing before. So port 2 I did get right. Port 2 is this one on the right hand side here, and that just goes to the top of the wastegate. So I've got this one following the other one. Alright, there we go. We have the boost solenoid all set up I might just loosen this one off and rotate it that way a little bit. Keep it away from the turbo. Alright, so it's been quite a few minutes since putting the cap back on, and there's some water under the car, but I did confirm it was just from the spill when I took the bucket off. So you can see it running down. Check the back side of the head, there is no leaks. I've felt under there's no leaks, no weeping. I checked where the cylinder 4 cooling mod was. It's all sealed. Heater hoses are all sealed, not dripping. Obviously, once the car starts, we'll have the heater on. Make sure everything flows properly, get it up to temp, get the fans on, and burp it properly. But for now, there's no leaks. Boost controller's done. We can chuck some oil in it. So I'm going to be running HPR 30. It is a mineral. This is what the Brian Crower Stage 2 cams called for. So we're not going to be using any synthetic stuff now, just mineral. It is obviously a heavier, which is good. We'll keep that oil pressure up. But let's get this lube into the engine. I need to plug these vacuum lines up, or we're going to have a wonderful time starting it. Right, let's get this in. Now, it does call for 4.5 litres for this 2 litre. Now, I do have the 2.5 litre sump on it. I'm not sure the difference there, but also people saying you need a different dipstick, you need the 2.5 litre dipstick. I have a 2.5 litre XT out there. I measured the dipsticks, they are exactly the same. The tubes are exactly the same. I checked on the exploded version of the engines and part numbers are exactly the same. Alright, one thing I am concerned about with the oil are the valve cover gaskets. I did not replace them. I cleaned them up, sealed them. Hopefully they're alright, fingers crossed. If not, we'll order some new ones. It's going to be fun. Alright, so I just got 4.5 litres of this 20W60 mineral in. I'm going to let it sit for a little bit, let it work its way down into the pan, and then I'll check the level. While I was pouring that, I was looking over here, and I'm just going to double check all of the fittings that I've changed with the fuel, because we don't want that. Oh well, there you go. Alright, let's do that. Alright, we got a few loose fuel lines. This one was loose, this one was loose, this one was loose, and that one down there was loose. So I'm glad I checked that. Vacuum lines are all done. Check the oil. We are jacked up, we are not flat. It is sitting a little bit high. Maybe the pan that I got is actually less but deeper, if you know what I mean. So yeah, we'll let that sit for a little bit longer and I'll check it. This will be started this episode, but not tonight. Going away over the weekend, so maybe Monday night when we get back, I'll fire it up. So I'm going to do the power steering now. Obviously, when it starts, I'll rotate left to right. I will fill it up here, and I will turn it left to right and see if things go through. Alright, so went down a little bit. I'm going to leave the sticker on there until we start it and we go through the process, because it will probably be something that I'll forget. And with everything else that I've done, that's probably something I'd forget. So we'll keep that there. I will just check underneath if we do have any red fluid. We know it's from the power steering, and fingers crossed we don't. So I was looking at this expansion tank that I got here that I want to change. I was looking at the overflow. I saw that I didn't plug in the fans, so I went and plugged in the fans. So I went under, and we got fluid. Got power steering fluid. Yep. Possibly the hardest connections to get to. Great. Alright guys, I'm back from my little weekend away. Time to jump in the car. I've put the battery back in. So I'll get the laptop and we will recalibrate the Haltech for the map sensor and for the oil pressure sensor. We are going to be priming the fuel system. Obviously when we turn the car on, it will prime. And then when I get into the Haltech, I'll disable the injectors so we can crank it over later and get the oil pressure up. So yeah, we'll prime it, see if there's any leaks. If there's no leaks, it's good. We'll go ahead calibrating everything. I'll just cycle it a couple of times. I can see the needle. Right, now we're up. These ones here are good. Got pressure in the line. It's not leaking. Can't smell any fuel. Perfect. Alright, so once we calibrate, we can calibrate this gauge to have oil pressure on it as well. And obviously we'll have the speed sensor on there as well. We haven't done the GPS speed sensor yet, but yeah. So pretty much we got to swap the map sensor wiring for the oil pressure, and the map sensor will go onto the Haltech, which is in here. Alright, so at the moment the map sensor's going crazy. So it's got the oil pressure. Obviously the car's not running. So we will take that off. Wiring, we'll take that off. So AVI 3. Jeez. Back to 0. Here we go. Sensors, oil pressure. Wiring, assign, AVI 3. Okay. Let's do that again. Alright, so we've got oil pressure sitting at 2.1. Yeah, obviously calibrate that. Hopefully the sensor works. Fingers crossed. Manifold pressure is on the Haltech now. So we just have the GPS sensor to do for the speed. So I am going to turn off the injectors and crank it. We've got battery getting down. I'm going to crank it, see if we build some oil pressure, and if we do, it's good. I will go check if we've got any oil leaks. Tell you what guys, I always forget how low this thing sits. Could just get my jack out from under it. It's not even settled. Alright, I'll give it a few minutes. Like I said last episode, I'll check the oil. Actually, I think it was this episode. I know I've been filming this one for a while now. Alright, since putting it down, I think I could hear some coolant moving around. I do have that power steering leak I need to sort out. Unfortunately, we probably won't be going for a drive anytime soon, but we'll get her running. Alright, let's go turn the injectors off, crank it over, get some oil pressure. Fingers crossed we get some oil pressure. Feels like a completely different car sitting on the ground, flat. Alright, into the hell tag. Alright, so I have disabled the injectors. Let's crank and we'll see if this goes up. I freaked out for a second then. Thought there was oil on the ground, but it was still power steering fluid that I didn't clean up from before. I'm going to put you guys up here. I think all I'm going to do is, there it goes. I'm going to turn the injectors back on and I'll crank it up and starts. I'll let it run for like 3 seconds, see if we get some oil pressure, and then I'll shut it off. Fingers crossed, guys. A little bit nervous. I do need to apparently break these cams in 1500 to 2500 RPM for like 10-15 minutes. So I won't be doing that tonight. Put the injectors back on. Let's crank it. We're getting oil pressure. I'll do it again so you guys can see here. You can see the oil pressure going down. Right, we got oil pressure. Bit lumpy. Definitely not the time to start it. It's 9:15. I don't know if it's running crap or it's lumpy or what, but it starts. First start. Alright, so we built oil pressure. It's awesome. Let's see if we've got leaks. I think we've got exhaust leaks by the look of it. A bit smoky. Looks like there's still just the power steering there. Yeah, there we got exhaust leaks. Alright guys, I am really happy with that. It fired up, it ran for a little bit, very rough. I don't know if it's rough or if that's the cams. We got oil pressure. It started quite easily for being apart pretty much. So yeah, if you enjoyed this episode guys, give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't yet, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Next time we'll get her running and hopefully should be a lot better. Catch you next episode. Bye.